Fellas, AC here. Welcome to another video. I've wanted to do this video for a long time. Masculine fragrances. Now I did a video last year on top 10 masculine fragrances. Then I did a video this year on Father's Day. And I want to do another one because I really like wearing masculine smelling fragrances. And there are a lot of people who want to smell masculine. And because of so many sweet fragrances being made every day nowadays, it's become a bit of a boring sort of a game, if you like, and more people want to wear something that represents their own gender. But what is masculine fragrances? Well, depends on how you see it. Some people class masculine fragrances which you wouldn't consider masculine, which I wouldn't consider masculine. It depends on who's smelling it. But the rough guideline I can give you is certain notes, when used in a certain way, give off a smell that you wouldn't find a lady wearing under normal circumstances, and unless the lady is very adventurous and she wants to try something different than just typical feminine fragrances. So the notes that I want to talk about are oak moss. Oak moss is very prevalent in the 70s masculine fragrances, and nowadays it's banned by IFRA because it causes some sort of a problem with your nose, or gives you flu-like symptoms like it does to me. So if I smell a lot of vintage oak moss, it gives me flu-like symptoms. So there's a reason for that. So oak moss, not in the embellished way it's used nowadays, but in the traditional sense of the word, oak moss is considered a key ingredient, if you like, to masculine fragrances. Other notes would be the earthy, spicy patchouli. That's present in many masculine fragrances. Leather, another one. Then other notes I can think of is lavender, the smoky, hazy kind of lavender mixed with carnation, another note which is very prevalent. The other note I can think of obviously is tobacco. Tobacco used in not the sweet resinous way, but the dry tobacco spicy way, airy spicy way. Other notes I can think of is lily of the valley, florals, violet leaf, violet flower. Those are the notes which, if present in copious quantities in a fragrance, gives it that smell which you would identify with the masculine type of scents. But these notes have been used in feminine fragrances as well. So it depends on how the fragrances have been constructed. So here is a list of 10 great masculine smelling fragrances, and it's a balanced list. Otherwise I would have ended up with 10 vintage fragrances. I've created a nice balanced list. It contains vintage fragrances, cheapies, and niche fragrances. So sit back and enjoy. Let's start the list. Number 1 on my list is a quintessential masculine fragrance. It is Guerlain Habit Rouge EDT. Most of the fragrances in the list are reviewed by myself. When Jean-Paul Guerlain created this fragrance, he wanted to make something which was a male counterpart to Shalimar. Shalimar was already an epic fragrance when it came to its success. And this fragrance, if anybody is talking about masculine fragrances, they will not be able to ignore this fragrance. This is leather. Leather in a very classy style. It's very lemony, it's very bright, aldehydic, fresh. It also has a note of carnation, which makes the fragrance tilt towards vintage smelling. And thank God for that, because we don't want the character, the main character, the floral character of the fragrance gone. Right? So thank God that Guerlain haven't reformulated this. The carnation is here, rose is here, and then the beautiful vanilla, which was Shalimar. Vanilla mixed with a fantastic new leather, saddle leather. And that's the story, right? The red here is basically talking about hunting jackets, which are used by hunters in England at least. And I've done a full review, so you can check out the whole history or the historical reference point, if you like. But this fragrance is basically a lemony, floral, masculine leather sitting on a warm vanilla. Vanilla is played down here. The EDP has more vanilla, which is not my absolute favorite, but the EDT is my absolute favorite. If you're just starting off your journey and you want something which is masculine and amazing, try this. It doesn't cost a lot of money and it smells amazing, performs brilliantly. Yeah, Habit Rouge EDT. Next on my list is one of the most perfect masculine fragrances ever made. This fragrance was created back, I believe, in 1970. So Habit Rouge was 1965. I'm going a little bit like a reverse chronological order for the initial part. And this is Equipage by Hermes. Another one of those amazing classical Hermes fragrances which have not been reformulated. Now this, or at least it's been reformulated, but it's not weak juice, it's a fabulous juice. Equipage is not for the faint of heart. This is one of those fragrances, when you wear it, you feel like you're the alpha among the alphas. I'm not joking. This is serious masculine. It has a lot of gravitas, and this fragrance smells almost as if it's a perfect masculine fragrance. Absolutely everything to the T. So this one has many notes, and I've done a full review, but this one is around again the sparkly aldehydic character sitting on a beautiful masculine floral heart with woody facets, and then a brilliant rooty sort of birchy leather. That's why I said it's almost a perfect fragrance. The fragrance smells and transitions and brings in many aspects that have become cornerstone of masculine perfumery. One example I'll give you is there's a fragrance called Derby by Guerlain, which was created in the 90s. The fragrance actually borrows from Equipage, and Equipage is Hermes. Hermes is famous for leather bags, so their leather, and I've smelled many of their fragrances, their leather is just outstanding. So Bellamy has that fabulous leather. Equipage has this amazing piney. I forgot to mention there's this beautiful freshness of green pine in the middle. The fragrance is just awesome. But as I said, it's not for the faint of heart, and it's for the alpha among the alphas. Trust me. So choose it carefully. Number 3 on my list is another vintage fragrance. 1973 is when this was released, and it is Paco Rabanne pour Homme. Paco Rabanne pour Homme is another outstanding masculine fragrance. It's very spicy. It's got sage, thyme. It's got a superb note of Brazilian rosewood, which smells woody, and lavender. Beautiful floral lavender. This is again barbershoppy. Like those two, they are all barbershoppy in nature. If you don't like barbershop, stay away. And the most amazing thing, this is a vintage, so most amazing thing about this fragrance is its spectacular depth, and they've used honey in the base. Now, honey and patchouli create this outstanding aura about the fragrance. You know, this is the kind of fragrance which you wear and you feel gangster immediately, and that's the word I never use in fragrances. I'm not into violence and all that stuff, but this fragrance smells like a gangster's fragrance, you know, not gangster's fragrance, but the gangster aura, you know, the daddy. So if you can get a vintage, it's well worth it, because it's one of the greatest masculine fragrances ever made, honestly speaking. But I do not know the reformulated version and how it performs, but that honey in the base with patchouli creates an experience that is unparalleled. You know, I've smelled so many masculine fragrances, so many vintage fragrances, but this one, what it does in the base is just spectacular. And there's another fragrance which I don't have in my collection, which does the same thing. Actually, there are two. One is Luciano Pavarotti. That's using just spectacular honey, and the other one doesn't use honey, I believe, but is an amazing masculine. It's called Balenciaga pour Homme. I'm desperately looking for a bottle, but it's so expensive and it's really hard to find. But if I get those two, they would have been in this list. But this fragrance, if you can get a vintage, small vintage, this is a splash bottle, as you can see. If you ever get hold of it, grab it, because if you're into masculine fragrance, because you will smell very little that smells like Paco Rabanne pour Homme. Next on my list has no such problem of reformulation, smells absolutely stunning. It's a very classy fragrance. It is Pasha de Cartier. Again, another barbershop-like fragrance, but with a twist in the tail. This one is spicy, zesty, minty at the top. It uses one note which some people avoid, caraway, and it's combined with a very fresh, invigorating mint. And then the barbershop signature, but the beauty is the base. The base has this fantastic, creamy sandalwood, and it's just amazing. I haven't reviewed this one, but I'll review it very soon. It's It's a very classy masculine fragrance, but its brightness is the key, you know. The fragrance has so much sort of effervescence to it that it will just light up a room. You know, you wear this, you go out, the sun gets vitamin D from you. That's the kind of fragrance this is. It's absolutely amazing. And it's masculine because of those two notes I mentioned, caraway, sandalwood. The sandalwood has been done in a way which is creamy and yet woody. Fantastic fragrance. Pasha de Cartier. The sun gets vitamin D from this. That's the new tagline. So, 4 done, 6 to come. Next on my list is a cheapie. There are 2 cheapies in this list. This one, I reviewed it a while back and I couldn't quite understand why this didn't take off. It's a woody masculine. This one is called Montana Graphite. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's even cheaper than Rouge. And this one is just amazing. It's very sharp woody initially. So it's got a lot of black pepper. And then that black pepper is combined with violet flower or violet leaf, I should say. And that's a masculine note, as I mentioned earlier. But the base softens all the sharpness and brings in Garcons, which is very birchy. If you smell Garcons, it's a very unique note. It's creamy and birchy at the same time. And it's combined with a fantastic note of styrax and iris. It's a beautiful fragrance, cedar at the top, and the base is sandalwood. Amazing, woody, creamy, spicy, masculine. I just don't understand why this fragrance hasn't been picked up by many people. I do not understand why this is not hyped. If you're into woody masculines, you have to have this in your collection. Montana Graphite. Get it. Next on my list is a cheapie. I reviewed it this year. It's a find. It's one of the best fragrances I've smelled this year. It's stunning. It is Pharrell Williams' Girl by Comme de Garcons. And it's dirt cheap. It's even cheaper than Montana, and probably the same price as Montana. And the moment you smell it, you will not believe how good this fragrance is. This uses violet flower and violet leaf, I believe. It's a creamy, vetiver Fahrenheit. That's the simplest way I can say. It's not trying to do a Fahrenheit, but Pharrell Williams. I've done a full review. Pharrell Williams' favorite fragrance was Fahrenheit. So this is a creamy take on Fahrenheit. It's a beautiful fragrance. It smells absolutely stunning. It's really classy and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Full review already there. So check it out. Highly urge you to get this weird looking bottle if you haven't already got it. Some people went and bought it after my review and they have praised it to high heavens. So this is a great fragrance to have in your collection. So done for vintage, 2 cheapies. Now got 1, 2, 3, 4 niche fragrances. Next is my eternal favorite, 1740 Marquis de Sade by Histoires de Parfums. Leather fragrance like no other. This fragrance is basically an olfactive trickery. So it has notes like wormwood combined with immortelle. It also has a sweetness. It has booziness. It has the most impeccable new leather, almost smelling like skin sometimes because of all the things connected with Marquis de Sade. So this is sinner's fragrance, if you like. It has also a fantastic camphorous note which gets me every time. Every time I smell this, that camphor combined with the sweet booziness and that impeccable leather just takes me to a different level. I love this fragrance. Absolutely love this fragrance, and I must have praised this fragrance at least a dozen times. What I didn't understand is when I reviewed this fragrance, which was about 4 years ago, nobody watched it. So I might have to do a re-review because that review didn't get many views. Just baffling. It's a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10 fragrance. I don't understand why people wouldn't pick up on this fragrance. If you love leather, if you love complex, masculine niche fragrances, you have to try 1740. Next on my list is one of the finest vetiver fragrances in the planet. And I'm very proud that I actually discovered it for the Comme. It is, some of you have guessed it, it is Sultan Vetiver by Nishane. And one guy just recently commented on my video by saying, oh, Sultan Vetiver is the best vetiver. And I wrote back to me. I said, thank you. I discovered it for the frag Comme. There you go. This is the best vetiver fragrance money can buy. It uses 4 different types of vetiver. I've done a full review, very detailed full review, but in a nutshell, it starts off very thick, rich, resinous, and very strong, and gets into that green, soapy vetiver territory as it dries down. So it goes from dark, rich to a little bit vibrant and airy. It's a very complex, very well-made vetiver fragrance. And as I said in that review, this is the best vetiver money can buy, if you can get hold of this. So Sultan Vetiver, I'm sorry about the cap, because Nishane's products lack that kind of a quality control that you would expect when you spend so much money on their fragrances. Their fragrances are not cheap. So Sultan Vetiver, outstanding, outstanding. Next one is another vetiver, which is from a house which I praise a lot. Not a lot of talk about this house. It is Jovoy Private Label. Private Label. Private Label is one of the most richest, complex leather, vetiver, sandalwood, patchouli fragrance I have ever smelled. And it's got this outstanding boozy ambery vibe, and a chocolatey patchouli combined. This makes Private Label one of the most amazing niche fragrances you can own. A lot of things are said about Incident Diplomatique, which borrows from this fragrance. I have reviewed Incident Diplomatique. If you put Incident Diplomatique close to Private Label, Incident Diplomatique wouldn't be able to even go half a race length with it. That's how superior Private Label is. So try it and see for yourself. One of the richest, smokiest, leathery vetiver combinations ever made. I am still to review it, but I'll review it very soon. Last on my list is probably one of the greatest fragrances, masculine woody fragrances ever made. It is Comme de Garcons, 2-Man. Now this fragrance, I've done a review last year, I think, and this fragrance is incense. So 2 incense fragrances back to back. This one is more churchy incense, but what gets me is how sour this fragrance is. This fragrance is basically contradictions bottled. Yeah. So, excuse me. You have kumquat wood. You have sour, sort of lemoniness to this fragrance. You have churchy incense. You have sandalwood creaminess. You have cedar. And this is again one of those fragrances when you wear it and the way it transforms and shimmers on your skin and develops, and just you're in a complete state of confusion and appreciation of a complex woody fragrance. It's one of the best fragrances ever made, but if you don't like churchy incense, stay away, because 2-Man doesn't make any pretenses about being a creamy, sort of embellished incense. No. This is proper churchy incense with woods, creamy fruitiness and sourness. Outstanding fragrance. 2-Man by Comme de Garcons. So, I hope you enjoyed the list, fellas. If you did, do give it a like. Take care. Bye-bye.